Hi, welcome back to Dish by RMU Culinary, a weekly installment where we show you delicious food. My name is Chef Brad with the Institute of Culinary Arts at Robert Morris University in downtown Chicago. On this week's episode, I'm going to show you a very classic Italian dish called risotto. Risotto is a way that we cook rice, and it's one of the methods that we teach our students here at Robert Morris University. There's a couple ways to cook rice. One that most people are used to is the pilaf method, where you add the rice and the liquid to a pot, you cover it, and you let it cook for 15 or 20 minutes. Well, this risotto is where we are going to slowly add the liquid, stirring constantly, slowly cooking the rice and pulling out some of the starch. So we're going to get started. In a saucepan over medium-high heat, we're going to add just a little bit of olive oil, just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. And then I've got a few tablespoons of diced red onion. You can certainly use shallot in place of this. Shallot's going to have a little bit of a garlicky taste to it as well. Shallot is a marriage between the garlic and the onion. But for this risotto, I wanted just the red onion, that sweetness of the red onion. And then I've got some sliced button mushrooms that I'm going to add in as well. And we're going to saute our mushrooms in the oil. So mushrooms are like sponges. And so one of the things that we don't do with mushrooms that we do with a lot of other vegetables is wash them under running water or even soaking them in water, because they're going to absorb all of that liquid that we're washing the mushrooms with. So generally what we do is just take a pastry brush or a damp towel and wipe any visible dirt off of the mushroom. Because they are like sponges, when you first add them to the pot, they're going to suck up all that oil. And then eventually they're going to release all the moisture, including that oil, back into the pan. So just be a little bit patient. Try not to add any extra oil to the pan just because the pan gets really dry at first. Eventually the mushrooms will start to moisten the pan again, and they're going to saute beautifully. I'm going to add a pinch of salt and pepper to this. And we want to cook this until our onions are translucent. We don't really want to put a lot of color on the onions because it'll affect the presentation of our dish. And then I'm going to add in some arborio rice. Arborio rice is a short grain rice that's generally used specifically for risotto. It's got a higher content of starch in the rice, which is how we get a really nice creamy consistency in the end. And we're going to stir this just to get it all nice and coated with the olive oil. And then I'm going to deglaze the pan with a few tablespoons of white wine. Deglazing the pan is a method where we add a cold liquid to a hot pan, and the steam that is created as a result of that allows anything stuck on the bottom of the pan to be released. And all of those things, those bits stuck to the bottom of the pan, is flavor, and it's flavor we want to incorporate into our risotto. So we're going to stir this and cook it until our wine has cooked out of it completely. And in this pot over here on the other side of the stove, I've got some chicken stock. And I have the chicken stock boiling because we're going to gradually add this hot stock to the risotto. And if we were to add cold stock, it would cool the pan down, and this process would take a little bit more time than it should. So then I'm also going to add some fresh thyme. Thyme goes really well with the mushrooms, so I'm going to strip it off of the stems. The stems are really woody, so we don't generally want to use the stems in a dish would have a chance of eating the stems. So these stems would be really good in stock or to put into a soup that you would take out later, kind of like a bay leaf. So just some fresh thyme. And then I'm going to slowly add in some of the stock, a little at a time, and stirring constantly. And this is the key really with risotto, is this constant stirring. Because it's going to prevent the rice from sticking to the bottom of the pan, and it's going to gradually pull out the natural starch that is in the pan. So at this point, this process will take about 12 to 15 minutes. And we're going to continue to stir in adding more stock as the stock evaporates. So after you have cooked the rice for about 10 to 12 minutes, taste the rice, and if it's got a little bit of a bite to it, that's known as al dente. That's what we're looking for, and we're going to cook it for just a minute or two longer. But now's the point in time where we can add some other ingredients. So I've got some Parmesan cheese that we're going to add. And you don't have to do only mushrooms. You can certainly at this point add some braised, like beef short rib if you have some left from dinner the night before. You can add green peas or any other type of green vegetables would be good adding to at this point. You don't want to add those types of things too early because they'll just get overcooked and dingy in the risotto itself. And then I'm going to add in just a little bit of butter, a couple tablespoons of butter, just to add to the creaminess of the risotto. I'm going to shut my heat off. And now risotto is something that you really want to have a little bit of runniness to it in order for it to be made properly. It's not something that should be kind of thick and gloppy or something that you would mold in a pan. So you want a decent amount of runniness, and we've got our plate here that we're going to plate this on. And I'm going to put a little bit of the risotto in the center. And then traditionally how it's served is you want to let it spread out over the plate. And then you can treat this like a canvas and sprinkle your garnish over the top. We've got some Parmesan cheese. And I'm going to add in some more fresh thyme. And we'll sprinkle that over the top. It's a really great winter dish to make. It kind of warms your bones. It's really warm and comforting this time of year. So this is our mushroom risotto with Parmesan cheese. For this recipe and more, please visit robertmorris.edu/dish. We'll see you next week.